Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host today, Deacon Adolfo Carbajal, and the topic of discussion today will be poverty and the plight of people who are dealing with different hardships and how the community comes together to serve people in need. And with us today to discuss this is Mr. Ray Keene, the Executive Director of the Canby Center.
Great to be with you, Adolfo.
Thank you, Ray, for coming in today and sharing your passion and sharing your vision and sharing with us how the Canby Center is serving those in need. You know, whenever people experience and have contact with people that are poor, people that are suffering, there's something that rises up within us.
Yes.
That we want to help, we want to make things better, and surely that happened for you, especially with the Canby Center, as you became the executive director.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I mean, there have been times in my own life where I didn't have two quarters to rub together, you know, to do laundry, simple things in life. And when you're in that kind of a place, somebody coming alongside and helping even just a little bit makes a big, big difference. So we love what we get to do at the Canby Center. We get to meet with people each day who are struggling in some way and just come alongside and be a friend and offer help where we can. Well,
the name of the organization is the Canby Center.
Yes.
So it's in Canby, I suppose.
It is, yeah. Canby, Oregon.
Tell us about that community.
Well, it's a great community, incredibly generous community. It's just a little bit south of Portland. We've got about 17,000 people who are gathered in that, mostly a rural area. And, you know, the community, because it's sort of its own little island in a sense, we really come alongside each other when there are challenges, and it's a community that's been doing that for a long, long time.
But before we start getting into all those different details, online you have a website that has all the information about the Canby Center, the different services, and included is a video. So let's take a look at that.
You guys are very friendly. You're always making me feel welcome. I learned how to sew a tote bag and a few different projects. The first dress that I made for my daughter was here at the Canby Center. Well, it's one day a week you come over here and they are going to share with you vegetables and fruits and some other kind of foods for free. So that's really good for us. It's help for us.
I've been serving at the Canby Center now for about 2 years now. I wish I can do it more often. It's very helpful. You know, people are so nice. They're warm, which I love, because I want to go to a place where I feel welcome. You know, people have a smile on their face. I love the ambience. You know, I love the non-judgment. They told me about the dental van, and I was like, wow, that's great. So that's what I was interested, you know, to help people, you know, getting dental care, and because of the language barrier.
I was brushing my teeth with Orajel about 3 times a day and then applying it more often as needed. I think, yeah, he's pulled three teeth, got rid of some abscess, and done a very good job. We're working slowly to getting it down to no pain at all, dull or otherwise. I enjoy chewing better now.
I met her at the citizenship classes at the library, and I went to her house to help her fill out the application for the citizenship, and she told me, she asked me to excuse the mess because she was packing, clothing to bring to the Canby Center to donate. And she was laughing. She says, it's funny because I go there and get clothing for my 4 children. And then, when they don't fit anymore, I take them back along with some other clothing that I have, bought myself. It's like recycling and helping, they help me, I help back, which is amazing. So that's why I love it. And also people that are going through a bad situation, economic situation, they get clothing. That's what I like. They get clothing, they get food. I mean, where else can you get that kind of help? I don't know very many places like this.
We have been talking, my husband and I, about when we get better in our finances, we would like to support the Canby Center to help in the way we can in that moment. So that's one thing. If we receive help, we would like to help too.
That was interesting because that put flesh on the entire experience there at the Canby Center. It gave us a visual image of the human experience that is taking place in that. So we saw different aspects of it, and we heard different things. But let's go into a little bit more detail about some of the services that are provided, and perhaps maybe even some of the statistics that have helped motivate you and the volunteers at the Canby Center to do this.
Well, as we were talking about what Canby is, it's really a community where people care for each other, and because we're sort of a microcosm, together, we work together, the needs that come up in the community, a lot of those get directed our way at the Canby Center. So when a church has someone knock on their door and ask for food, oftentimes those churches in Canby know about our work and will direct that person our way. So last year we were able to redistribute about 50,000 pounds of food to families who are in need, people who are struggling. Sometimes it's the homeless who come into the Canby Center and just walking up, and other times it may be somebody who's got a job and doing okay, but they stop for bread out front at our Harvest Share bins. So food, clothing, last year about 77,000 pounds of clothing was donated to the Canby Center that we can just turn around and provide to families, to youth in the community who may be struggling a little bit. Help save a little bit of money at home and direct that toward things that are a little more important.
Ray, we all see people in need. How does that happen? Is it a one-time thing or is it a process?
Yeah, my experience is that it's a relational challenge. Oftentimes going back to childhood, some sort of brokenness or relationship challenge in the home usually kind of kicks things off. Might be a mom and dad that split up early on in a child's life that can kind of bring some challenges in school and in other places too in life. And if a child's dealing with those kinds of issues, trying to figure out how to live with that pain, sometimes coping mechanisms come into play. And so, we're familiar with that term, but it can be, sometimes a choice to run away. It can be a choice to maybe deal with pain through drugs or alcohol. But if if somebody is dealing with those kind of coping mechanisms, that oftentimes leads to further disintegration of relationships. It's what I call the poverty spiral. And it's really just a process where someone is dealing with life's pain, struggling a bit, figuring that out along the way, but maybe not making the best choices because of what's been modeled for them. So it's a relational challenge that comes up for someone. It's really at the roots of what we see in homelessness. It's at the roots of what we see in economic poverty and sometimes other areas of poverty too, well, relational poverty, spiritual poverty. But oftentimes that key component is relationship. So if somebody is in that process, they're dealing with a fear of losing control in their life. They're dealing with a fear of failure in a way. And all that kind of stuff spirals down to a place where oftentimes it leads toward more failure and broken relationship. And that's why I believe that coming alongside someone in a relational program is so critically important. We can't do this through simply a handout. You can't really get at the roots of poverty just by providing food for someone. You get at those roots by coming alongside someone in relationship, in a loving relationship that really cares for them.
So a tangible community organization like the Canby Center provides the environment for that to begin to happen.
That's right.
When I was looking at the video, I thought to myself, what a wonderful example of small town Americana.
Yeah.
Is Canby, what's happening there at the Canby Center in that village, in that town, is almost an example for the rest of rural America of how we can come together to help one another and not necessarily rely on outward agencies and distant management to somehow convey our needs. But one of the other things too were some of the statistics that you were sharing with me back in the green room on how this is probably a common need and occurrence throughout the United States. Share some of those with us.
It really is. There are a lot of challenges. Just take the issue of hunger. In America, food, what we call food insecurity, people who are living with inconsistent access to healthy food for a variety of reasons, usually economic reasons. In America right now, we've got about 46 million people who are on the SNAP program, which is the food stamps program in the United States. So these are folks that the government says are really struggling and need some assistance. And we know there are others beyond that who are in need. So you think about kids, for example. 1 in 5 in America are growing up right now without that consistent access to healthy food. And if you're Latino, it's 1 in 3. It's pretty staggering when you look at those issues. A child can't really advocate for the food that they need. It's either there in the pantry or it's not.
So accessibility is another issue.
It is.
Even if you're on the SNAP program, you got to be able to find a grocery store.
You do.
In many rural areas, it may not be economically profitable to maintain a large grocery store. So now you're incurring long transportation commutes to find the closest place to do that, and that's expensive too.
That's right. And one of the things that's most frustrating, I think, to me and many others too, is that in America right now, about 20 to 40% of the food that we produce from farm to table gets thrown away.
Gets thrown away, that's right.
The food's there. I've talked with food retailers and producers, wholesalers. Those folks all have food, and oftentimes it ends up in the dumpster instead of going out to families who are in need. So we work on that. All of the food that comes through the Canby Center is donated, and we're just in that business of trying to find it, pick it up, and bring it in to help other families who can use it.
And do you work with local farmers as well? And
we do. They're great to work with. Several local farmers in the Canby area will bring us produce, big pallets of corn, fresh corn when it's in season. It's wonderful to see that, and it goes so quick. Just this week we had 62 boxes, large boxes of bread come into the Canby Center, and the next morning it's gone. So it moves so fast. I know that there's more people in need than we're meeting the need of.
Tell us about the garden that Canby Center has.
We have 12 raised beds in the back, and a local irrigation company helped us irrigate those raised beds, and so now they're on a timer, and it's really been wonderful. We also have an in-ground garden plot that helps us grow our own fresh produce. And then the families who are receiving that produce are a part of the solution. They come out and they help harvest it. It's a great, great relationship. And then others in the community too who have their own gardens, fresh tomatoes coming on and there's just too many of them to can up. They'll bring them to our harvest share bins out in front of the Canby Center and just share them that way.
Give us a historical perspective. How did the Canby Center get started? When did it happen?
Yeah.
All those details.
Back in 2008, about 5 churches in Canby came together and said, you know, we can't do by ourselves what needs to be done as a community.
So the people of God came together
Yes.
to address an issue.
That's right. Oftentimes I've seen other communities where a church, for example, wants to do something to serve. But very rarely do you see strong partnership across denominational lines and between churches. This took place in Canby, and just yesterday I had about 15 pastors from across Canby who were gathered together for what we call the Canby Ministry Collective. So it's grown from about 5 churches now to roughly about 20 who help support our work through volunteerism, through financial support, and in other ways too. So when the people of God come together, you know, things happen.
That's it. You have a food collective, you have a clothing collective, and you have a spiritual collective as well. And you also mentioned across boundary lines. I understand that St. Vincent de Paul is partnering with you as well with a mobile kitchen.
That's right. Yeah, they bring their mobile kitchen on site at the Canby Center once a week on Thursdays, and they provide lunch for anyone who would like it. It's really great because we sit right next to the high school too. So high schoolers can come over, families in the community can drop by.
The elderly.
Yes, yes.
Well, what a wonderful time again to build community. If you have young people and the elderly, and you have a real nice mix of people coming together. The video also showed us a couple of examples of vocational skills and training and everything that takes place. Well, give us some more detail on that.
Yeah, we have a program called Canby Career Builders, and it's really it's an employment focus for job seekers. It's a class where they can come and learn about resume writing and, you know, the interview process and some of that. So we try to do life skills oriented education. We help kids with reading in the school district. About 25 volunteers right now are paired up with 50 kids in the Canby School District to just come alongside and read with them. So basic skills. You know, I've seen guys who come into the Canby Center who are homeless, who have been struggling their whole life, basically because they didn't get those essential skills in terms of reading. It makes a huge, huge difference. So, you know, when somebody at that foundational stage can learn to read and learn to read well, then it makes a difference for a lifetime. What the Annie E. Casey Foundation did research nationally, and what they found out was that if a child isn't reading at standard by 3rd grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate from high school on time with their peers. So 4 times more likely to drop out of school, typically, or take a lot longer to graduate. So if we can help those kids at the earliest stage, these are kids who want to read, they want to learn to read, but may not have the help that they need at home. So bringing people in the community who have a love for reading and sharing that with the young person makes a big, big difference.
Yes, yes. Another example to bind together. English and Spanish classes are something else that is offered. And what I like is the English and Spanish.
Yes.
So it works both ways.
It does.
As well, and it fosters more communication within the community.
It's huge for us. You know.
What about health? I understand too that you have emergency food boxes.
We do. About 106 food boxes went out last year through the Canby Center. But even more so, our Harvest Share program, every week we provide food for roughly 20 to 30 families who come through, and they shop for food at the Canby Center, typically fresh produce that otherwise would have gone to waste, and it's in great shape. And they're able to take it home and feed their families with it and prepare a good meal. Makes a big difference. That's happening weekly at the Canby Center. But in between food pantry times, we do provide emergency food boxes for those who are in need.
Well, 2017 was a year that a lot of people will remember with very severe weather and ice and snow how did that work out?
Yeah, there was a lot of snow and ice. It was cold. And so we had people coming through the Canby Center who were looking to warm up, who were in need of food. A lot more folks than we typically see wintertime who are living out of their vehicle. At the rest stop, places like that, we're seeing more and more who are living homeless in some degree or another. They might have a tent, they might be living in a vehicle, like I say, at a rest stop. But real significant challenges with that. In the Oregon State, about 13,000 people last year were living homeless. That is, folks living without permanent housing. So really significant challenges for those individuals. And what I've found is that you've got to come alongside, and you've got to come alongside in a way that's relationship oriented, to make a real difference. There are programs out there, many programs out there to help the homeless. But I think the ones that make the most difference are those where there's a real friendship that gets developed, where someone can grow in their skills and use their own hands to do something to better their own life. Had a guy come in this week who is living in his car at the rest stop and really kind of down and feeling discouraged. And he just wanted to do some things to help. He needed food. He needed some clothing. We got him shoes and clothing. We got him food. But then we put him to work. And he's helping with the bread out front, and he's helping with moving things around in the back of the Canby Center. And you know what he said to me? He said, "This is what I need. Can I come back tomorrow and volunteer some more?" And it's beautiful to see that, because each person has dignity. And when we come alongside in a relationship and we say, "You know what, I see that value in you. You have value. You have something to give." And when they're able to give that, it brings a spark of hope for them.
It restores their dignity.
Yes, it does.
A good rabbi friend of mine, Rabbi Daniel Lappin, explained to me once that dignity also has to do with clothing. And clothing is more than just covering yourself and keeping you warm, but it can also be a source of dignity as well. And I know the Canby Center has a large program of clothing exchange as well.
Yeah, a lot of our clients who come in to pick up clothing bring clothing with them too. So when their kids have grown out of things they're no longer going to use, they donate it back to the Canby Center. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, it's almost an image of the early church.
I think it is. I really think it is.
How people came together.
Yeah.
Other services that Canby Center provides is like emergency dental care and utility and rental assistance, as well as referrals. So there's an active social aspect of it to it as well.
There is.
And faith is important as well.
Yeah, it's the foundation. Really, our mission is, in God's love, we renew dignity and inspire learning for youth and families. It's really simple. But it's God's love that's at the heart of that, and that's what motivates our service.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I guess our example, all right, is part of that evangelistic effort, if you will, as opposed to proselytizing, because there are people of different denominations, different groups that come together, but what they share is what they hold in common, and that's Christ.
That's right. Yeah.
Good. You talked about the reading mentors, and there's another thing here called the Backpack Buddies.
Yeah,
Tell me
Backpack
about
Buddies
that.
is an amazing program. Other communities use this approach too, and in Canby, what it means is that at the Canby Center, we partner with the Canby School District. The district, special counselors and intervention specialists, they identify kids in the district who are food insecure, kids who may be going home hungry. And every Friday during the school year, the Canby Center puts together a food bag that's got fresh oranges and apples and some canned food and snacks for the kids. And that goes out to, right now, about 260 kids throughout the school district. Each elementary school lets us know who their kids are, who have some of that need. Volunteers from the community, many from churches and other places too, come in, and they pack up those food bags and they take them out to the school site, where they get tucked into the backpack while the child's away on recess. So when they go home, nobody knows any different. They don't look like they're carrying a bag of food home. But over the weekend, they have food that kind of gets them through and brings them back on Monday with some energy. It's really great. About 8,000 bags went out last year from the Canby Center.
Yeah, it's a good expression of love and compassion. And
Yeah.
aside from all of these things that we have to do, you know, we're also human beings, and recreation has a lot to do with it as well.
It does.
Tell us
Yeah,
about
yeah.
what kind of recreation activities you have.
Well, you know, we focus on a variety of things, and we're working on developing more as we go along. But, you know, right now we kind of have a youth drop-in center where kids can come after school. Had some kids in yesterday playing foosball and playing pool and just kind of working on different things like that. But just different opportunities to be engaged in the gardens. Right now we partner with the high school. They've got a great agriculture program, and their class comes over and helps plant the garden. So they're in that process of helping us with things that are, you know, composting and just all moving dirt around and getting things working. It's great to see.
So the Canby Center seems to be just based on volunteerism, on
It is.
community support. You mentioned that there was a local irrigation company that helped get your gardens irrigated so that
Yeah.
they can grow and everything. So volunteerism is very important, and more than just being there, but developing a partnership with the schools and other businesses. We got about 2.5 minutes left.
Yeah.
About 2 minutes left in the program. Let's focus on volunteers. How can people, how can institutions get involved, and what are the benefits that they can also receive from volunteerism?
There's so many ways to be involved. Some of the easiest ways are just to come in and participate in our Harvest Share program with food distribution. So helping to repackage food that comes through. Sometimes we'll get in a large bag of flour that needs to be broken down into family-sized portions. Really simple to do. Almost anybody can do that. Sorting through clothing donations. We need somebody right now who's got a green thumb who can help us watch our gardens over the summer months.
What about businesses, hardware stores, things like that?
Yeah, lots of ways for businesses to be involved. But one of the ways we're really interested in partnering with businesses right now is to help us acquire the books we need for the Reading Mentors program. So we're going to need a lot of books next year. And really, you know, a store can put up a little display and have some books available for people to purchase. Each month in the Reading Mentors program, a child is able to take home a book to build their own library at home. It's super important because if a child is reading at home, it kind of grows and inspires that love for reading.
So what can people do to help you?
People can bring in food, clothing donations. When they have extra, you know, cans on their shelf at home, they can bring them to the Canby Center. We love to be able to pass that on to families in need. Clothing that's just sitting in the closet at home, not just taking up space. Especially this time of year, it's great to bring that into the Canby Center and share it with someone who might be in need of a warm coat.
So thank you for being a wonderful example.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
great to be with you.
And thank you for being with us here at Join Our Town. We'll see you next time. God bless you. Goodbye.